2 sins Jesus warned about most. Welcome to Unfeigned Gospel, where we share the pure, unfiltered gospel of Jesus Christ through powerful, visual storytelling. If you're hungry for truth that transforms the heart, you're in the right place. Anger was the first improper attitude that Jesus mentioned. We must remove anger from our lives. The second significant issue with all Christians and all humans is sexually lustful thinking, such as when a guy looks at a lady and lusts for her. According to Matthew 5:27-28, the Old Testament principle was, do not commit physical adultery. As long as you do not touch a woman who is not your wife and do not commit adultery with her, you will be fine. This was the Old Testament standard. But Jesus set a higher standard. Just as Moses climbed up the mountain and descended with the 10 Commandments, Jesus went up the mountain and preached the Sermon on the Mount. He elevated the 10 Commandments to their spirit. He demonstrated that murder was similar to wrath, and adultery was equivalent to desiring with your eyes. In other words, you are committing adultery with that woman in your thoughts. Jesus declared that in God's eyes, it was considered adultery since your inner life was filthy. The Pharisees distinguished themselves by maintaining a pristine exterior existence, the outside of the cup. A Christian who keeps his outside life clean but his inner thought life dirty is a Pharisee, and he is headed to hell, whether he realizes it or not. Many of us are unaware of the seriousness of this issue. I have preached the most against a number of sins, but 2 in particular: anger and sexually wicked, lustful thoughts. People have asked me why I spoke so strongly against them. I explained that Jesus mentioned these 2 sins when he stated that our righteousness must exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees. The second reason is that these are the only 2 sins mentioned by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, and he warned that engaging in them would lead to hell. Most individuals do not believe that. Jesus only mentioned hell twice in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5:22b, 29-30, implying that these 2 transgressions are extremely terrible. It is interesting that Jesus only mentioned hell twice throughout the Sermon on the Mount, in reference to anger and sexually lustful thinking. So they must be really terrible sins in God's eyes. And there isn't enough preaching about them nowadays. Jesus took the 10 Commandments and revealed their meaning to the people. You don't need to read Matthew 5 to realize that lusting after a woman who isn't your wife is a sin. According to Jesus, anyone, Christian or unbeliever, who looks at a woman and desires her, has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Lust signifies a strong desire. He said it's so serious that if your right eye causes you to stumble in this area, you must pluck it out. When faced with the temptation to desire with your eyes, you must be radical. You must act like a blind man. This is the only way to conquer it. You shouldn't dismiss it and say, well, I'm just admiring the beauty that God has created. There are numerous reasons we might defend this sin, and many people do. When a person is irresponsible in this area, he may eventually slide into physical adultery, as many pastors have done around the world. What Jesus taught in Matthew 5 was not new to God-fearing folks. I'm sure John the Baptist knew it before Jesus said it. Job knew it. Job 31:1, 4, 11. Anyone who respects God, even if he does not own a Bible like Job, will infer that looking with sexual lust at a woman who is not his wife is a sin before God. How come so many believers nowadays take sexual longing so lightly? It stems from Job's inherent lack of reverence for God. Some people attend Bible schools and earn doctorates in theology while studying the Bible, but still continue to lust for women. What does this tell us? It tells us that knowing Scripture and getting a degree from a Bible seminary do not make us holy. With all of the translations and concordances available now, there is a wealth of Bible knowledge. We even have the Bible on our mobile phones and CDs that people listen to while driving, etc. Despite the abundance of information, there is little regard for God. Jesus raised the standard because he desires a pure heart, not just a clean reputation. Ask yourself, am I letting anger or lust rule my inner life? Let reverence for God begin the transformation today. If this video inspired you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear what Jesus really taught about anger and lust. Thank you, and see you on the next video.